Over the last week or so, I've been thinking a lot about my time in the military and some of the leadership lessons that I really took away from that experience. So today I thought I'd share a personal story about my time in the United States Air Force, and specifically my time playing for the United States Combined Services Rugby team, and how that experience really taught me about the power of adaptive leadership and communication. So stick around and I'll jump right into that story coming right up. What's up, guys? Marcus Sedley here with the Rugged Leadership Academy, where we're dedicated to helping leaders become better leaders. Now, today I wanted to take you back to my days playing rugby with some of the best rugby players in the United States Armed Forces, and how that experience really shaped my approach to leadership. But before we get started, do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button below. Your support really means a lot, and it really does do a lot to help me grow my channel. So let me set the stage a little bit. So at 21 years old, I was an enlisted airman in the United States Air Force, and I had just been selected and invited to travel and to participate as a reserve player for the United States Combined Services Rugby team. And that team was really a team that was made up of the best rugby players from all the different military branches, and it was really intended to create kind of this super team, and it was a very, very talented team. And for me, this was a huge honor, and it was very humbling, and it was really just an amazing personal accomplishment. With that said, it was also an extremely intimidating situation. I was surrounded by extremely well-educated officers, many of them who had attended some of the best military academies in the country. Many of these individuals were already serving in elevated leadership roles within the military, and they were all very, very good rugby players. And then there was me, and a young enlisted airman who had basically flunked out of college because I was much more focused on going to the bars and finding girls and playing rugby than I was attending class. And I'll be honest, at the time I was scared, and I was insecure, and I constantly wondered whether or not I really deserved to be there and whether I belonged. Now, to further compound the situation, one of the captains of the team was a player who played my position, who was obviously higher than me on the depth chart. He was much older than me, more experienced than me, and he was an experienced veteran Army officer who was pretty old school. And by that I mean that he constantly yelled and never really offered any feedback or encouragement. And to be blunt, although he was much smaller than me in terms of physical stature, he was a very intimidating individual. And it was clear that he didn't like me. And I don't know if that was because I was the FNG or the fucking new guy, or if that was because I represented some new level of competition. But he made it very, very clear that I was on my own. Now, from a leadership perspective, his overly aggressive and critical leadership style was really pretty demoralizing to a lot of the players. And you could see its impacts on how the players reacted and how they performed on the pitch. Now, in some cases, players would become very angry and overhyped and over-aggressive, and they would make mistakes or cause penalties. And in other situations, players would get really pissed off, and they would be demotivated, and they would become less aggressive, and they would be very conscious or subconscious about making mistakes, which usually led to making more mistakes. Now, during the same time, a mentor of mine who was an officer in the United States Air Force and who was kind of in the process of retiring from playing from the United States Air Force rugby select side gave me a book entitled Developing the Leader Within You, and it was by John Maxwell. Now, this was the first book that I'd ever really seen on leadership, and it was really a game-changing moment for me. Now, Maxwell's perspective on leadership was that it wasn't about control or authority. It was really about gaining and maintaining and expanding your level of influence. And the book really focused on improving your listening skills and establishing trust, and how to motivate, and how to provide constructive feedback, and ultimately how to be more adaptive in your leadership style and approach. So while I spent the next year riding the bench, waiting for my opportunity to play in meaningful games to the United States Combined Service team, I really spent that year listening and observing and learning as much as I could about the other members of the team, as well as trying to learn how to apply and utilize some of the lessons that I had learned from the book. Now, as a player, I played a position called the hooker, and it was a position that really required a lot of communication and kind of served in a leadership role. And early on, one of the things that I really recognized about the team was that a lot of the guys from the Army and the Marines really thrived and responded well to very direct and assertive feedback. Many of them really thrived on what you would call kind of that tough love approach. On the other hand, a lot of the guys from the Air Force or the Navy, I found really seemed to prefer kind of that positive reinforcement or positive approach. And they usually wanted a much more detailed explanation around, kind of our tactics and strategy. Now, I want to be clear. I realize that I'm making some overgeneralizations about the different branches here, but my primary point is that this experience really made me much more aware of just how different people from different environments and different backgrounds responded to different communication styles and motivational approaches. Now, for me, this was really kind of a mind-blowing discovery for me. And it's really when I started trying to play around with tailoring my approach. With some individuals, I'd be much more direct and motivational. And with others, I'd be much more supportive and explanatory. But this was really kind of my introduction to the whole concept of adaptive leadership. And it didn't take long to see some results from that. Now, after about a year of practicing and traveling with the team, my opportunity to play finally presented itself. And it was really during a match in which my predecessor, the old veteran Army asshole captain guy, suffered a pretty significant injury. And we later learned that he actually broke his scapula, which is that big bone in your back, which I've never heard of anyone breaking before or since that time period. But I can tell you, being on the sideline at the time, it looked like it hurt. But anyway, it was really that incident that created the opportunity for me to play and start getting some significant playing time. Now, I'll be honest, I was ready. And not only did I play really well, but really from the beginning, I really focused on trying to utilize a lot of the communication techniques that I had observed and learned and adopted over the previous year. And those approaches were really pretty well received. I was quickly recognized by my coaches and my peers as someone who was a leader on the team, and pretty quickly promoted and recognized and selected to serve as a captain for pretty much the remainder of my professional playing career. Now, looking back on this experience, it really did teach me a lot about the importance and value of recognizing and adapting my leadership approach to meet the unique needs of the individuals on my team. And it has been this awareness and the development of these adaptive leadership skills that have really had such a profound and positive impact on my professional career. And in my experience, really developing this awareness and skill around adapting your leadership and communication styles is so crucial for leaders if they want to be successful. And these aren't skills that you can learn from reading a book or taking a course. They really are skills that have to be developed over time. And it requires a place or an environment or individuals who are very supportive and who can challenge your assumptions and who can allow you the space to make mistakes and play with these different techniques in order to really start to perfect them and make them part of your daily leadership habits. And I realized that I was very fortunate in that I had a mentor who invested so much time and energy into my own leadership development at a pretty young age. And it was really that experience, I think, that has inspired me to want to be a leadership coach and to help others develop the skills that have really helped make such a difference in my own career. So if you're a leader who feels that you would benefit from personalized leadership coaching, schedule a call with me. It's completely free. There's no pressure. And it really is just going to be a conversation about what your leadership goals are, your challenges, and whether it would make sense for us to work together moving forward. All right, that's it. I hope you found this video and story insightful, and I encourage you to subscribe to my channel for more great leadership lessons and tips. Until next time, keep leading and keep learning.